Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining us in the second session of a 12-part series of online events termed Deadline or Death Sentence, State Violence and Indigenous Adivasi Peoples' Resistance in India. My name is Lotika Singha, and I speak on behalf of International Solidarity for Academic Freedom in India, INSAF India, and London Mining Network. Before we begin, please note that we are not using the chat, but the Q&A box is available for questions, and we will take them after our speakers have concluded their presentations. The session is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. If you prefer privacy, please keep your videos turned off. We are deeply honored today to be joined by two speakers with decades of experience and grassroots engagement with indigenous Adivasi land rights and anti-displacement struggles vis-a-vis the state corporate nexus. Rinchin is a human rights and environmental activist working extensively in Chhattisgarh and particularly in Raigad. Prasant Paikray is spokesperson of the Anti-Jindal and Anti-POSCO movement in Odisha's Adivasi heartlands. In our first session, we looked at the grim realities of state violence in Bastar, which forms the southern part of the central Indian state of Chhattisgarh. The militarization, extrajudicial killings, and the relentless repression that the indigenous Adivasi communities endure every day. Today, we must ask, why is this happening? The deadline declared by the Indian state to eliminate the Maoist movement from central and eastern India cannot be separated from the question of land and resources in the states in this region. The biodiverse forests of these states like Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, and Maharashtra are not only home to India's richest mineral deposits, they are also the ancestral territories of millions of Adivasi people, and which are constitutionally protected as fifth schedule areas. In India's legal framework for indigenous rights, this designation means the guarantee to the Adivasis of the right to self-governance through collective decision-making in the Gram Sabha, which is the assembly of all adult residents of a village, as well as to customary land and resource rights. These rights, along with the right to free, informed and prior consent, are further enshrined in the 1996 provisions of the Panchayat's Extension to Scheduled Areas Act, or PEZA as it is popularly called, and the 2006 Forest Right Act of FRA. Both acts were hard-won through people's struggles, while the state's approach to its constitutional and legal obligations has long been shaped by an extractive mindset in which these rights become hurdles to be managed and the people demanding them become expendable. The groundwork was laid in the British colonial era itself in the Forest Acts and the 1894 Land Acquisition Act. For example, P.N. Bose began iron ore explorations in Bastar's Belladilla Hills in 1898 in the service of the British Empire. After independence, India continued along this trajectory, establishing mining corporations in the name of the public, but that public notably excluded the Adivasis whose lands were targeted. By the early 1980s, the Indian state had already embraced a model of development in which land is conceptualized as a resource to be appropriated. The neoliberal reforms of the 1990s accelerated this process. Take Chhattisgarh as an example, a state that itself emerged from India's neoliberal turn, carved out in 2000 at the height of liberalization. Its own government notes that the purpose of its formation would be defeated if the natural resources are not used due to the stringent protective forest laws and environmental problems. It is detrimental to facilitate financial investment. So accordingly, Chhattisgarh has auctioned vast tracts of Adivasi land to corporations, including in Bastar, deepening existing marginalization while revenues fill government coffers and corporate bank accounts. Rinchin will expand on how this extractive nexus has devastated local communities in regions like Raigad. But first, post-independence mining in Bastar started with state mining corporations and then expanded to private actors under neoliberal reforms in places like Belladilla, Raoghat, and Amdai. This extractive expansion has been accompanied by militarized state violence, most starkly during the 2005 to 2009 Salva Judum campaign, which overlapped with contracts signed with companies like Tata. Since 2014, the alliance between state power and corporate interests has deepened, and this violence and encroachment on land intensified. Mining tenders, exploration licenses, and auction notices are being issued alongside new military deployments. Camps, roads, and railways are being built. For the state, militarization has become the prelude to extraction, and the people are treated as obstacles to be removed or pacified. Yet resistance movements in Bastar continue to challenge these excursions. It is precisely this resistance that has provoked the latest escalation, culminating in the state's chilling ultimatum to its own people. The state's vision of development is one where Adivasi communities are either co-opted as cheap labor or rendered invisible, their forests, rivers, and cultures reduced to commodities. This relationship isn't lost on the Adivasi people in the region, and we would like to start by acknowledging this by watching a short video report by Malini Subramaniam from the village of Badgaon in North Bastar.
I'm going to share the video now.
Adivasi beno nano, amulvasi beno nano. Adivasi beno nano, amulvasi beno nano. Adivasi mannara nano, amulvasi mannara nano. Adivasi mannara nano, amulvasi mannara nano. Mun mun tinchi wasi nano, ay gai bumi poisara nano. Mun tinchi wasi nano, ay gai bumi poisara nano. Manba jangalo tornano, manba jamino tornano. Manba jangalo tornano, manba jamino tornano. Nayonni so destenano, agunda dulare kitornano.
Early January this year, the villagers were intrigued by visits from surveyors and company wale to their hills. No one addressed them, but went about as if they did not exist. Rumors began spreading that the Kodometa Hills are being opened for tender to private companies for mining iron ore.
तो इसन जनता गुड़ तो लाल बारामा मटातुन पिसी न काजे मरा गुटातुन सब मावा जनता पिसी न काजे आकुन आगे तक मावा बाल बच्चा तुन पाताई पुट्टो आया गंजोरिंग तेना काज माटी तुन जनता गुड़ से गरम सभा किसी लड़ाई की तो लालिगा जनता उदित तो लाल इना देना वजह से रोके किया ना काजे
यहाँ का जो कोडोमेट्टा बोलते हैं हमारा जो यहाँ का रीति रिवाज है जो पहले से यहाँ जितना भी गांव वाले सभी इकट्ठा होते हैं और यहाँ का जो पूजा पाठ करते हैं तो यहाँ बिना पूजा पाठ किए यहाँ का धान बुआई कुछ नहीं होता। तो उसके बाद यहाँ का जो त्यौहार दो बार होता है, जो धान कटाई के बाद एक बार होता है जो नया धान जुगाने के लिए। तो यहाँ का जो देवी देवताओं का आस्था है, इसीलिए हम लोग ये सब जंगल को और यहाँ का जो देव आस्था को सभी को बचाने के लिए जो हम लोग यहाँ जो प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं वो सब 4 तारीख से जो धरना प्रदर्शन किए हैं वो जो वहाँ रह रहे हैं, ये सब बचाने के लिए है।
Did anyone tell the villagers that the hills are being put up for mining tender? What makes them suspect they are losing their hills to private miners?
ये कुछ तो होगा कि इसमें देखने के लिए आना जाना कर रहे हैं, तो हमको लगेगा कि जो आमदई में जैसा हुआ तो ऐसा तो यहाँ भी तो नहीं होगा। हमको तो शंका है ना, पूरा डाउट है। हाँ, कोई सरकारी आदमी या कोई ठेकेदारी नए आदमी देख कर जा रहे हैं कि लगता है कि यहाँ भी कुछ जल्दी ही खुलने वाला है। इस शंका से यहाँ के लोग उस संबंधित शंका को लेकर यहाँ बैठे हैं।
7 kilometers away from Badgaon are the Amdai Hills. Iron ore mining in the nearby Amdai Valley began in 2022 in 192.25 hectare of forest area. The mining lease for a period of 50 years was granted to NS Jaiswal Nico Industries Limited, JNIL. No Gram Sabha was conducted in the adjacent villages. They were neither informed nor consulted. This has made the villagers distrustful of the government.
The villagers in Bargaon also believe that the security camps are being established to enable mining and to provide protection to the private companies and their mining
वहाँ
activities.
से हम लोग जो कर रहे थे मतलब वहाँ जैसे पहले कैंप चला गया तो कैंप चला जाने के बाद वहाँ कदम चालू किए ऐसा ना हो करके अपना जल जमीन को इस जो पहाड़
बचाने के लिए
तो इसको बचाने के लिए हम लोग जो पहले उसको निर्णय लेके हम लोग पहले
यहाँ बैठे
अमदई घाटी के नीचे
घाटी के नीचे जो रोड में
पहाड़ी
जो
के
वहाँ
नीचे रोड
कैंप
के
बैठे।
ऊपर बैठी कैंप। उसके बाद ऐसी पता चलते चलते वो पूरा निको कंपनी जो है ऊपर कैंप को ले गया।
यहाँ तो कुछ दिन मतलब वहाँ भी बैठे थे तो उसके बाद यहाँ चालू नहीं होगा। अब ये सब जो नेता लोग सब बंद कर दिए। यहाँ वहाँ जो बैठा था जनता जितना भी थे उन लोग सबको वापस कर दिए, बंद कर दिए। उसके बाद जो ऊपर वाला कैंप ऊपर चढ़ा कैंप उसके बाद चालू हो गया तो उसके बाद फिर सब जनता वहाँ जाके बैठे फिर भी कुछ नहीं हुआ। तो इसीलिए जो यहाँ कैंप यहाँ आएगा तो फिर चालू करेंगे, इसीलिए कैंप को भी जो उन्हीं के साथ यहाँ चालू करने नहीं देंगे वो।
The forest also provides the villagers with roots, nuts, and fruits for nutrition, as well as chadi booty to attend to their immediate health needs. With security camps and mining activities, not only is their forest and their produce destroyed, their movement, including cattle grazing, is completely restricted. Villagers around Amdai Valley do not know where to graze their cattle.
तो पूरा जाएगा, हम कहाँ ढूंढने से मिलेगा, नहीं मिलेगा। उसका रक्षा करना, हाँ, उसका रक्षा करना जरूरी है हम लोग का, माता पिता का। अभी बच्चे लोग हैं, नाती पोती, उन लोग के लिए रखना पड़ेगा। पूरा पहाड़ का सब है, उसको उजाड़ने से हम लोग कहाँ से उम्मीद करेंगे, हम लोग का तो नहीं होगा उधर।
इससे एक डेढ़ साल पहले वहाँ अमदई घाटी में सब पूरा कुलियम घूमते थे, गाय बैला और उधर लकड़ी लाना या घूमना फिरना सब फ्री था। अभी वहाँ भी किसी को घुसने नहीं दे रहे हैं। अब वो उसी प्रकार यहाँ भी होगा तो अगर चालू करेंगे तो यहाँ भी अभी घुसने नहीं देंगे। जंगल हमारा और सब पहाड़ी हमारा, सब सारा चीज़ हमारा है। अब अपना अधिकार है, पहले से जो पूर्वजों ने ये सब बचा के रखा है। अब हम लोग का जंगल है तो फिर यहाँ नहीं जाएंगे तो फिर कहाँ जाएंगे।
Villagers had protested against Amdai Ghati, but with false promises of jobs for their children and co-opting local leaders by giving them interest-free trucks to load and unload the mined iron ore, the company and the local administration created vested interest to kill the movement. Today, the youth of the villages around Amdai Ghati, who were promised regular jobs, feel cheated. They work as daily wage labor for labor contractors.
यहाँ निको कंपनी जब आई 2005 से तब बता रही है कि हर एक प्रत्येक घर से एक एक व्यक्ति लिए जाएगी बोल के।
How many people are employed thus far? And do they have employed people from outside this region too?
वो अब यहाँ पे माइंस के अंदर जो निको ली है वर्कर जो लेबर 25। उसके बाद ठेकेदार होती है यहाँ जो 3 ठेकेदार जो माइनिंग मिली है अरविंद साहू और संदीप शर्मा 3 और एक तिवारी 3 ठेकेदार है। तो ठेकेदार के अंदर बहुत ही और रोजगार मतलब लेबर और हैं। वो अपने गांव के नहीं है, वो बाहर यूपी, बिहार और अपने छत्तीसगढ़।
So who do you work for? NICO or private contractors?
निको के लिए कर रहे हैं, हमें ठेकेदारी में दिया गया है।
Have you received any letter from NICO? What did it say?
ऐसा बताया नहीं गया है, ऐसा कोई ऐसा नहीं बोले कि आप निको की ओर से हो, आप ठेकेदार के हो, ऐसा कुछ चिट्ठी नहीं है, ऐसा चिट्ठी नहीं मिला है हमको।
The villagers in Badgaon brought the matter by writing formal letters to concerned district authorities, seeking an early response to clear their anxieties. No one responded.
कल जो है हम लोग जो यहाँ का जो कागजात तैयारी किए हैं, जो कलेक्टर, एसडीएम और तहसीलदार सभी को देने के लिए सब कागजात तैयारी किए हैं। जो उसके बाद जो कल तहसीलदार साहब ने आए थे, उनको एक दिया गया है, उसमें कलेक्टर और एसडीएम को जो बच्चा है 3 दिन का जो आदेश मांगे हैं, 3 दिन के अंदर जो इसका कुछ कार्रवाई या कुछ सुनवाई नहीं आएगा तब तक हम लोग बैठे रहेंगे। अभी तक कोई जवाब नहीं आया है। 3 दिन का जो बताया गया है उसके
40 days later, villagers called off the protest on the assurance from the collector that no mining is proposed in this region. He dismissed their worries over rumors. However, the collector justified mining to bring revenue to the district, which will help in the development of their villages.
तहसीलदार को बुलाए, तहसीलदार भी हम लोग का भी रिकॉर्ड में हम लोग को पता नहीं है बोले। उसके बाद फिर कलेक्टर के पास गए, वो भी वही बोले हमारे पास रिकॉर्ड नहीं है। रिकॉर्ड नहीं है तो फिर हम क्या कर सकते हैं। तुम लोग ये सब बंद करोगे तो फिर पैसा सरकार को कहाँ से मिलेगा, तुम लोग को विकास के लिए कहाँ से देगा। वैसा जो कंपनी खोलेंगे वहाँ, उसके बाद फिर वहाँ से 100 रुपया कमाएंगे तो 30 रुपया सरकार को जमा करेंगे। उसके बाद फिर वही 30 रुपया से फिर आप लोग तुम्हारा पंचायत में विकास होगा। वहाँ पंचायत वाले अब सरपंच लोग आएंगे तो फिर हम कहाँ से पैसा देंगे बोल रहा था।
Long before the villagers woke up in January to suspicious activities of survey of their hills, and much contrary to the district collector's claims of his ignorance on any mining lease in the region, on 26th April 2022, Mineral Resource Department, Government of Chhattisgarh, floated 7 tenders, one of which was Badgaon iron ore block over an area of 160 hectares of protected forest land, including the revered Kodometta Hills.
Adivasi beno nano, amulvasi beno nano. Adivasi beno nano, amulvasi beno nano. Adivasi mannala nano, amulvasi mannala nano. Adivasi mannala nano, amulvasi mannala nano. Manu manu pinchi wasi nano, ai gai bhumi poisar nano. Manu pinchi wasi nano, ai gai bhumi poisar nano. Manva jangalo tor nano, manva jamino tor nano. Manva jangalo tor nano, manva jamino tor nano. Ayoni so deste nano, agunda dulade kisar nano. Ayoni so deste nano, agunda dulade kisar nano. Kenur bata kiya mukto nano, amana.
Government of Chhattisgarh has been fighting armed insurgency led by the banned CPI Maoist for over 3 decades. The contention of the government of Chhattisgarh is that security camps are being constructed in the interior areas to push back the armed insurgents as well as to secure the area to enable construction of roads. Roads will, the government claims, usher development such as schools, health centers, nutrition centers, as well as getting ambulances to ply easily in these hilly terrains during any health emergency.
मतलब माइंस गाड़ी तो 100-150 गाड़ी जाता है, 500 तक जाता है। हाँ, 500 तक गाड़ी जाता है। तो हम इसलिए बोलते हैं कि रोड दो बोलने से क्यों क्या के लिए बोलते हैं। उन लोग बोलते हैं कि किसको पूछे हो क्या के लिए बैठे हो, ऐसे भी बोलते हैं। कोई आके धमकाते भी हैं, अभी भी आए, अभी भी धमकाए। तब हम लोग बोले, तोड़ फोड़ के जवाब दिए, हम लोग को रोड चाहिए, रोड के लिए बैठे हैं। आपको सरकार देता है, कलेक्टर देता है, तो किसी को पूछ पाछ के तो नहीं देता। माइंस गाड़ी में तो 500 से 1000 गाड़ी भी जा सकेंगे। हम लोग गांव वालों को पूछेंगे, कोई तो नहीं पूछेंगे। कलेक्टर साहब नहीं पूछेगा ना, मंत्री
साहब नहीं पूछेगा कि आज इतना गाड़ी वहाँ घुस के जा रहे हैं बोल के पूछेंगे? कोई तो नहीं पूछेंगे। अभी हम लोग के यहाँ कितना परेशान हो रहा है ये हम ही लोग जान रहे हैं। छोटे छोटे बच्चे मैंने इधर से उधर स्कूल पार करते हैं और माइंस गाड़ी वाले मन भी देखते नहीं हैं, इतना माइंस गाड़ी मन को चलाते हैं। और कभी रेसिंग से भी लेके जाएंगे तो बच्चे मन, किसका बच्चे जाएंगे? हम लोग का बच्चे जाएंगे, उन लोग का थोड़ी ना जाएगा। अरे सरकार उन लोग को दे रहा है धनाधन। रोड में भी हम लोग भी चलेंगे तो कीचड़ मत उघालो, आराम से लेके जाओ बोलने से उसको भी बोलते हैं कि तुम्हारा बाप का रोड है बोलते हैं, ट्रक वाले मन भी हैं। तो हम क्या करेंगे, कैसे रहेंगे हम लोग हैं? और अभी तक से आज तक से हुआ है कि कोई रोड बनाने वाला नहीं आया है, न कोई बता नहीं रहा है कि देखने आया है कि नहीं आया, कोई बता नहीं रहा कि अब बनेगा तब बनेगा, कभी बता नहीं आया। अभी कितना ही दिन भी बने, साल भर भी बने, हम लोग को नहीं है। लेकिन माइंस गाड़ी मत चले, हाँ, माइंस बंद हो जाए, भले रोड ऐसी भी रहे लेकिन माइंस बंद हो जाए। माइंस अभी 1 सप्ताह से बंद किए, हम लोग का रोड अच्छा है।
हमारी मांग पूरी हो जाए।
सब
बीमार पड़ गई मेरी बेटी, तो यहाँ से छोटे डंगर शाम को छोटे धमराई में डॉक्टर नहीं थे ना, तो वहाँ भी छोटे डंगर भी डॉक्टर नहीं थे। तो सवेरे फिर लेके छोटे डंगर में, तो वहाँ से तुरंत भर्ती करके रिफर कर दिए नारायणपुर के लिए। नारायणपुर जाते जाते गवाड़ी मोड़ में है ना, एम्बुलेंस गाड़ी पूरा पट्टा टूट गया रोड की वजह से। तो वहाँ से नारायणपुर से आते आते बहुत 2.5-3 घंटा लेट हुआ। तो वहाँ से फिर दूसरे गाड़ी में बैठ कर नारायणपुर पहुँचाते मेरी बेटी ख़त्म हो गई, 6 साल की बात।
Back to you, Latika.
Yes, thank you. Last year, villagers from Bargaon Gram Panchayat successfully secured a community forest rights title over the very area that the state had auctioned off to private companies. As soon as the mining operations will commence on the Bargaon iron ore block, this conflict is poised to escalate into a full-blown confrontation, one that will test the limits of both the legal framework meant to protect Adivasi rights and the state's commitment to prioritizing profit over people. What happens if the state succeeds in quelling every form of resistance in Bastar and beyond? What future awaits these regions then? We will now hear from Rinchin and Prasant Paikray, whose testimonies and insights will deepen our understanding of this ongoing crisis. Rinchin ji, may I hand over to you, please? Welcome.
Johar, and it was very nice to see this film. And every
louder.
time, can you hear me?
Thoda louder, little louder.
So it was good to see this.
Oh, your internet, I think, is okay, little unstable. Let's just see. If you can hear me, Rinchin, we can't hear you right now, or is my internet? Nandita, can you hear Rinchin?
No, she's frozen for me as well.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's
yeah, let's
give it a minute.
she might
Yeah.
come back.
Let me just check. I'll ring her. Just a minute. Okay, so I think Rinchin has dropped out. Let me just.
Apologies, we are just I'm trying to get Rinchin back. She had some issues with her connection, so we were expecting some little bit of troubleshooting problems, but please stay with us.
Prasanji, I think maybe we can start with you. I'll just check with Rinchin once. I'm just trying to call her. Otherwise, we'll hand over to you. No, she hasn't been able to come back yet, no? Prasanji, let's go to you first, and then we'll come back to Rinchinji, I think. Let's not, we have a lot to talk. Yes.
Yeah, welcome to everybody. See, I'm from Odisha. My name is Prasant Paikray. I'm the spokesperson of the Anti-Jindal, Anti-POSCO movement. Dear friends, actually, I can emphasize for the Odisha issues. I think it is better. Because, see, today is the International Environment Day. But unfortunately, of course, I am looking not only for the anti-POSCO, anti-Jindal movement. So I am involved with a different movement of Odisha because so many movement is continuing in Odisha and the Neomgiri, Nagar, and Sejimari, and Devamari, and so many movement, and also in Sundargarh, anti-mining movement. So many movement is going on. But unfortunately, today's International Environment Day. Narmada Bacha Andolon leader Medha Patkar and other anti-displacement Narendra and Lingaraj Bhai and others are they want to rush to the Kasipur for the environment day meeting. But unfortunately, police has in the Raigada police station, police has already the restrict to not go to that meeting by the order of the collector. And now the police are sending to the team to the Barampur railway station. They are on the way. So unfortunately, because the environment day also, there is no scope for the observer of the environment day, international day. This is very condemnable day. And you see, that means it's already exposed, government is exposed that because here is Odisha state also BJP government and the government of India is the Modi government. Both are the double engine government. Now double engine government is not interested to allow the anti-displaced movement, to allow any for the sake of the human rights, for the sake of the environment, for the sake of the land, jungle, jameel movement, they don't allow. They don't. They are not interested. It's already exposed there, and we know that the so many examples are there. But today, you see, there is a conspiracy that how the name of the development and name of the so-called industrialization, so-called the development they want to destruction, want to the forest land, the Jal Jungle Jameen, and rescission and hand over to the corporate capture. This is already corporate capture going on, and they want to hand over. And this the nexus of the state and corporate is very planned way. They are trying to corporate capture in different natural resources and mines area. That many example in Odisha because so many moment is going on in Odisha, and it's very difficult to say the whole moment, including my moment, to details because in very short time. But everything we must know that the long-term conspiracy is going on for the favor of the roadmap of the corporate, and that is continuing. And we have, after the last 15 years, we demand that the four major points for the inquiry and for the demand, four major demand. Number one, it's many fake encounters happen here. Name of the Maoists in Odisha. But no government is not interested to inquiry because government, in so many cases, government is agree that say, oh yes, it's a fake encounter. The fake encounter is a wrongly police is firing to the innocent person. Many cases has already proof in Odisha, but there is no inquiry, no compensation, nothing. And secondly, many you know that so many people's moment is continuing in Odisha, and many open police fire is continuing the different moment in POSCO, in Kalinganagar. You know, Kalinganagar, the 13, 14 tribal was killed by the police firing. Many incidents happened in Kasipur also. But so we demand that for the compensation, for the inquiry, no response. And also, in third demand, we said that so many people are inside the jail, name of the Maoists. So please try to start the trial at least. No trial. And you see, in every moment, so many false and fabricated criminal cases going on. So many criminal cases. For example, in our moment, you see, I will come to my moment. In 2005, against the POSCO, we started the moment for the save of the forest land, revenue land, and also private land. And government forcefully land acquisition started in 2011 and 2013. 2,700 acre land. So many incidents happened. It's very difficult to say everything to you. And 4% was martyred in our moment. Our moment was a peaceful and democratic and non-violent moment. But always compelled to the from the police, Dalal, and government for the violence. But we don't we allow to any violence. Still, 4% is martyred. I mean, they killed by bomb attack by the police and government. I mean, the police and in Dalal. And police also firing in 2010 in May 15. Many hundred people are injured by the rubber bullet. So we always demand that please inquiry for that. There is no answer from the government side. And after the long moment in 2014, 8 rapporteur of the UN, they hold a press conference and they declare it. We condemn to this human rights violation by the POSCO and state. So POSCO should withdraw, and they noticed the government, South Korea government, also government of India. After that, POSCO started this withdrawal process. In 2017, finally they have withdrawn. But unfortunately, dear friends, again also, I want to say to you that when the POSCO came, there is no Gram Sabha. There is no prior information to the villager. People are really strange. People saw from the newspaper, oh, POSCO is coming to our village. But nobody, I mean, the administrators are not asking to the people. No Gram Sabha, nothing. Same thing happened in 2018 after the POSCO withdrawal. In 2000, without MO, government declared that government invite to the JSW, Jindal, Surgeon Jindal, for the same place, for the captive port, the cement plant, power plant, and also steel plant. And this 2,700 acre land also, POSCO hand over to the Jindal. And very interesting that, the forest clearance was got by POSCO. The POSCO has transport to the Jindal, but that is illegal because which is a forest Ministry of Forest Environment, they will transport. Who is POSCO? That also we have a challenge, but nobody listened till now. And that transfer was to happen from the POSCO to Jindal. And you see, friends, same thing happened without the permission of the villager, without Gram Sabha, nothing. POSCO immediately Jindal came. Jindal started this in 2019. In 20, they have started the forcefully starting the land acquisition. And 2022 is a huge repression is going to go continue. Huge repression. I just want to inform you, POSCO was left out, but the ghosts are there. I mean, the 300 case false and criminal cases pending against the 2,000 people of our Dinki area. Because in the total 3 panchayats and 12 villages was affected. and that 12 villages, same place, same village, same panchayat was handed over to the Jindal. But 300 criminal cases still continue against 2,000 people, and people are suffering for the criminal cases, false and publicly. Again, also, we started the movement against the Jindal, and after the 2021, and now the criminal case number is 100, above 100 now, false and fabricated criminal cases. Now, total 400 criminal cases going on against the 3,000 people. Now is against the 1,000 people, 100 cases coming. So, dear friends, I also want to say that during the anti-POSCO movement, Government of India has sent to our area 3 high-power committees. One is Minagupta Committee, Saxena Committee, and Raipal Committee. All 3 committees recommended that here because OTFD people are staying above 100 years, so here it is necessary for the implementation of the FRA, Forest Right Act. But after that, and Gram Sabha should be required. But intentionally, not more Gram Sabha during the POSCO movement, during the Anti-Jindal movement. I mean, the committee has cleared that here the immediate implement of the FRA. People have already applied for the IFR. People have already applied for the CFR, but no implementation of the Forest Right Act. I said that the no Gram Sabha, why? What is the question of the FRA? Now, last month, I am giving the example. Last month, the administration called the Gram Sabha for only 50 decimal and the half-acre land for the school purpose. So villager demanded, a villager shouting there, "Oh, you are not calling for a Gram Sabha for the 1,000 forest acre land for the Jindal project purpose. So why you are calling to the 1.5 acre land for the school purpose?" And the administration was there. So yes, we agree, but we will say to the higher authority only, district administration. You can see for that. This is the real matter. And you see, in our area, nobody can say against the Jindal. Nobody can say any government. Last 1 month back, we own the Sarpanch, we own the ward member, we own the we own this nominee, and we defeated to the because all anti-Jindal leaders are there contested. We defeated to the BJP 1,200 margin vote, but we want to call a reception meeting for the our Sarpanch nominee. But police, the permission is required. Police admission said, if will the condition is if will not say against the Jindal, not say to the government against the government, then we'll allow for the reception meeting. This is the condition for the administration on behalf of administration. And you see, people are already panicking because every people name, every person name against name, the 10, 20 cases is going on. So many panic. People are ready. People are dissatisfied on the companies, on the government. So that people, we own that. But what we should do? People are panic because there is no space for the democratic movement, no space for the right to speak something against the government, against the contender, no space for the constitutional right. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. And you see the Dalal and company leaders, I mean the police, the Nexus is controlling to that area. How the Jindal will implement, by who control? This is their plan for how to implement this Jindal for the steel plant, for the captive port and cement plant, also power. And dear friends, I said that for the connection with the Chhattisgarh issue, we are also same opinion because violence is going on that area. This violence is the purpose is for this loot the natural resources, loot the natural resources for the mining, for the finish to the. I can say no, even somebody may be objection for my my opinion, but we We think that it is already the Hindutva agenda to finish to the because they are always the Manushrima Sanskriti is always opposed to the women and tribal and Dalit. So I think they want to finish to them for the purpose of the corporate capture. Clearly, I want to say that is my personal opinion. Maybe differ somebody, but it is my opinion to finish with the tribal, finish with the Dalit. They want to create the company Raj, I mean corporate capture. This is my complaint, my opinion. And you see, so many movement is going on, and so many repression is going on in entire Odisha, including our movement, including the Niyamgiri, including the Sijimali, including the mining movement is going on in Sundargarh, again, including this Devmali in Koraput. So many movement is going on, so many repression is going on, and everywhere the false and fabricated criminal cases. Everywhere, police, bureaucrats, and ruling class, and company, the Nexus is creating the how to capture, how to corporate capture is will be continued, and to eliminate to the anti displacement movement. This is their agenda. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prasantji. Thank you very much for again bringing to fore. Yes, what is we are seeing as common across states, but I'm going to first hand over to Rinchinji now. Rinchin is back with us to tell us more about Chhattisgarh and how we make this connection between Bastar and Odisha. In between, there is Chhattisgarh and rest of Chhattisgarh, and Rinchin will be talking about that. Thank you.
Thank you again, and sorry, I have no idea how it got cut off, but so I think it makes sense because from Bastar, which is in the south of Chhattisgarh, to Raigad and the whole northern Chhattisgarh, which is now being heavily mined, and Raigad is also adjacent to Odisha. So the Tamnar block and the Raigad district, which we're talking about, actually borders the Sundargarh area of Odisha, and the mining on both sides is similar, except for the fact that they're two different states and they're two different languages in which the orders come. But the orders and what the protest of the people have been are on similar lines. And they're not very different also from what the Amredi mines people were talking about. There it is beginning and people are protesting. Here mining had started somewhere in the early 90s. And Jindal was one of the first companies to come in and start mining. And if you look at it from the 90s to now to 2025, that is almost for almost 4 decades, if we, or at least 3 decades and a little more, there has been no change in every time a new mine comes, the problems that people have, the protests that people have, the questions that are being raised are the same. And every time a new mine is forced on those villages, the problems also that come with it are the same. So it seems extremely disheartening, but it's also like when you talk about the deadline, and I think that's why the heading of this series feels very ominous, because these deadlines have been crossed so many times, and now when they're talking about a new deadline, say of the anti-Naxal operations and making it a Naxal-free Bharat, I think the government and what we have to talk about is that when will it be a corporate crime-free Bharat? And because what Prashant Bhai was also saying, the scary part is the continuity which with it happens. So there can be an armed protest going on somewhere. There can be court battles, and then there are protests on the grounds through democratic means. But what they're protesting is almost the same thing, and what they're losing and what they're not able to get is also the same thing, that is justice. And whether we have justice, like when we're talking about this whole climate change and environmental justice, but we know that there can be no environmental justice without social justice, and you cannot have peace without justice. So when we're talking about peace, we also need to know that why the unrest has happened. So I'll just in the past, I'll just take a small example from the past 2 decades, and at least the 14, 15 years that I have engaged with this struggle. When the mining started in 90s, that time we used to hear, when I first started going to those areas, we used to hear the fact that how people were duped out of their land, where people were told that you're going to lose 1 acre, and actually people signed off deeds without their knowledge of much more, where the land, the compensation, even the compensation before the new Land Acquisition Act came in, which talked of fair compensation to people. Even the poultry compensation that was supposed to be got before in the 90s, there were people who have lost acres of land for 20 to 30,000 rupees. Adivasis were duped of their right compensation. Now, I'm not even talking about not giving the land. I'm talking about where people in the beginning or after protest were duped of for giving their land to private companies or even government projects, got very less, 20 or 30 lakhs, or as less as 20 or 30,000, where middlemen came in, bought lands from Adivasi people under false pretext, or saying that your land will go anyway, you don't have proper papers, so sell it to us, and then sold it to the company. There were so many Benami transfers that are still being fought in so many courts. 20 or 30 years, you'll see there are something like 600 to 700 cases that are being fought in Tehsil towns on Benami transfers, where Adivasis have lost their lands to middlemen who have then sold it to companies. And these middlemen are also not, they're also fronts of these companies. So the companies came in, they sent middlemen bought land from Adivasis like for nothing. And then when the companies acquired the land, they acquired it from their people. So it can be a clerk that is working in the company. It can be a person who doesn't exist. So there are many people who don't exist but have bought land. And when people have gone to court, when SDMs have sent out orders for 6 or 7 hearings, they've not appeared, and you know that is not even a living person. So there can be an Amar Singh or there can be a Son Singh Rao, and who is shown as an Adivasi, who's buying large tracts of Adivasi lands. There is no idea of where he's getting the money from, has acquired the land, and then the land has been acquired by the companies. This is how, when the companies came in, they did. Also, the complete violation of all environmental laws. So every company that comes in with an EC. They are given what the environmental conditions are. In 2014, there is one village called Kosampally, which was being mined by JPL, that is Jindal Power Limited. And they had, for example, they had every 4 or 5 months, they would people would have to protest because the mine blasting was shaking their houses. It was destroying their walls. Also, the dust levels were very high. So people were protesting, and what happened is that people protested. The company people came and they started a dust bhatta. Now, this means a dust allowance. So they would pay people 30 or 40,000 or the whole village, something like 1 lakh something, and say you can distribute it among everyone. This is a dust allowance. Now, what does a dust allowance mean? Why do we say that there has to be a level of like the dust levels have to be under control? The PM 2.4 and the PM levels have to be under control, because if the dust levels are higher, we are going to inhale them, and that is going to cause us illnesses. In Delhi, when the PM 2.5 went to 220 or whatever, Supreme Court was taking cognizance of it and giving odd even days and stopping traffic, etc. Here, when it goes to 320 or 340, what do companies do? What does the government do? Give allowance, which comes to 300 or 400 for families, and say, okay, see, we're giving you an allowance for dust. So you're giving an allowance so that people can inhale dust and die. This is a death bhatta. They were calling it a dust bhatta. And then I think, and that was the time when villagers got together and decided that they would file. So we started doing the monitoring that was happening by the government bodies was so bad that they always showed minimum levels. But what what you could see, you could always see a layer of dust everywhere. And people started doing, when organizations helped or sangatans came together and they started monitoring their own air levels, we found that the pollution was much higher. It was like, it was 240, 300, like at that time, I think one of the most polluted cities in the world had something like 240 or 280 PM 2.5 levels. And here, if not that much, not more than that much, there was at least this much all over the place. But because it is in the back of beyond, because there are largely Adivasi populations, so those lives don't matter. There are environmental conditions that say that mining has to be from a certain distance from the village habitat. Here they were mining absolutely adjacent. The school was 600 to 100 meters away from where the mining and the blasting was happening. There were fires in many of the coal deposits where the coal is kept before it is transported out. There were a lot of fires. There were underground fires in the coal deposits, and people. It doesn't matter to the company because they're going to mine it later. So let the fires burn. But the fires are going to send out noxious fumes, and so a case was filed in 2014. Villagers from this village filed a case against Jindal, saying that all the environmental violations are being violated, and therefore the mining should be stopped, or at least, actually here it was that the mining is happening illegally and it should stop. It took us 5 years and 7 committees that came to check again and again. From the local CECB to the Raipur committee to someone from Nagpur, and then finally a committee from Delhi. And the committee from Delhi said, which had one of the undersecretaries from the coal ministry, that we were unable to stand in that place and breathe. So we wonder how people have been doing that all this time. And finally, the court took cognizance of it and put a fine of 160 crores on Jindal and also on the caretaker company that was SCCL. And in between, and saying that largely like the green belts weren't made, the water, the condition of water was very bad, polluted water, and also the underground water levels had sunk. So the whole tehsil, which is now still being mined and also has many proposed mines, is already in the orange. And if you have more mines, so where the committees themselves are saying that yes, this committee came, they said yes, these violations have happened, and we are also very concerned about how the carrying capacity of this area is. So it has probably now reached or will be reaching its limit. So we order for more carrying capacities to be a study to be this thing, and they also had that fine. Now, winning a case after 5 or 6 years of fighting a case, and Jindal went from going back to the NGT, then going to Supreme Court, where Supreme Court also, they did not get a stay on their violations. They did get a stay on the penalty that they had to pay, saying that the penalty amount is less or more. But the Supreme Court also said that the violations still stand and they have to do mitigation. They have to do mitigation work to I'm telling this story because it just shows how much, and it is like a story. Finally, it took us like, so 2017, the court orders came till 18-19, it went up and down to Supreme Court. Finally, still in 2020, a final order came which said that now from the NGT that the Supreme Court can look at, this case is called Dukaluram versus the Union of India. The Supreme Court can look at the amount of fine, but the mitigation, and we accept that the violations have happened. And so work must be done. Now, they also talked about an R&R, that is a restoration and remedial plan. And they have mentioned it somewhere, and then they kept saying that now restoration, so they kept writing it as R&R. When the order came back and it came from the principal secretary to the collector's office, the CCB, the company Jindal got back this mine after the deallocation and writes to the collector saying that the court order also says that there should be a rehabilitation resettlement and rehabilitation, R&R of these people, and therefore we can start doing a survey for rehabilitation and resettlement. The collector takes the order, says, I have appointed a committee and let's go and start looking at rehabilitation and resettlement. The villagers saying we never even asked for rehabilitation. The whole case was fought because we could protect our land, we could protect, like they had fought for things like 500 meters, keeping the common forest commons intact, not letting the mining work encroach on these things. So we had fought the whole case for this, and now you're saying that to mitigate the violations, you're going to do resettlement and rehabilitation. Till we had to file a police complaint to say that the Jindal is misinterpreting the order and saying from rehabilitation, making restoration and remedial measures into rehabilitation. But the most, Jindal can do whatever it does to protect its interest. But why is the government also now they can say it was a mistake, and we haven't heard from them since this complaint was filed, but now we know that it's rested. But it was not just, we were not just amazed, it's disbelief also, and this is what happened, but it's also very disappointing that the bodies that are supposed to protect the rights of the people, that is the Pollution Control Board, the conservation boards, and the collectorate's office, the mining officers, instead of protecting the rights of the people, they collude with the company. And I'm using the word collude. It can tomorrow be said that I am, I'm क्या बोलते हैं उसको, मानहानि कर रही हूँ, but I'm saying it because it's true. And the government, of course, we don't have proof. They can say it was an error, but we have to call them out. And how does and each time, for example, when the deallocation happened, now that happened all over India for all the coal mines. When the deallocation happened, a lot of people in the coal mining area were happy. The ones that were already being mined and where there were proposed mines were happy. They felt that, okay, now this deallocation has happened, so they also have a chance to say something. We approached judges, we approached lawyers also to say, can the people who are affected by the mining also intervene in that case? We were told no, and even the best intentioned lawyers said that no, the court will not even look at it like that, because this is just between two parties. And that's when everyone realized, because people took out rallies, people were very happy that the deallocation has happened. These companies who've been working corruptly and also investing so many people of their lands, livelihoods, and also causing pollution will now have to leave the mines. But then there was disappointment where you realize that mine is just going to go from one entity to another, and you're going to be re-auctioned again, but you have no say in that. They're not even asking you in this period where the mining was happening, what did you face? What do you want? How do you want it different? So, for example, Jindal lost a mine, it was auctioned, and someone else, a Hindalco or someone else, can buy it, and the situation is the same. When the deallocation happened, so many companies lost their mines. The fights were also going on between the companies who were taking over from each other. But the workers had lost their land, lost their jobs. For almost a year, they had no work. And so it's a group of 60 workers who worked in one of the mines, that is in Monet, who also lost their jobs, filed a case with the labor commissioner, and where they said that we have lost our jobs. We did not, like, the deallocation did not happen because of us. So the companies need to compensate us. The labor commissioner also agreed with that and said that, okay, we will try to get you your at least a retrenchment package and gratuity and provident fund. And that's when the labor commissioner got to know that most workers who had been working even for 10 years did not have provident fund. Their private contractors, as what was being said in the film, and also what Prasant was saying, private contractors did not even start. For many people, for a small group of people, there were provident funds, but for a large number of contractual labor who they were They used to make them sit for a month and then come back after. So they seemed very irregular, but they were actually regular workers, did not have provident fund, no gratuity, no retrenchment. They fought the case for 6-7 months, and they finally, the companies were told to give them a provident fund. The companies did not, and they put it on the local contractors. The local contractors threatened the workers, saying that you will come back to us when the mines restart, and we will be the ones, because the contractors again didn't change. Another big company comes, they have the same local contractors. But it was also a turning point in which two things happened, that at least the coal wage board started getting discussed. And it was again like 10 years of mining was happening by very large and so-called reputed companies of the country. And people were not even getting the bare minimum, which is the coal wage board. They're not asking for more, they're asking what the government coal wage board says you need to get it. The private companies started saying that the coal wage board does not apply to us. It applies to the government companies, but it does not apply to us. And they created a whole thing in which they they pitted the contractor against the laborer, and both of them are locals. The some contractors who may have come from outside, or the large companies, but a lot of the so the large companies will give provident fund, but a lot of the labor will come from small local contractors who will have 30 gangs of 30, 40, 50 people. So when we talk of development and we talk about the fact that when companies come in, like for example, in a demilitarized zone, when companies are coming in, then what is the safeguard that people have against that? Because your own governments are not helping you. The commissions and the different pollution control boards are not doing what they're supposed to do. And then people have to, for everything. So 60 workers will fight here, a group of villagers will fight for, say, for polluting the river, or for not getting, for all the environmental violations happening. The second case that happened again after, like once people started also, like one village, so there was a feeling that now this is not just about one village, there's so many villages. So the other was the Shivpal Bhagat case, which was a case that again talked of how ash was being disposed, how polluted water was being thrown in rivers, and also how what the Dukaluram case committee had said, that it is the area is exceeding its limits, the mining limits. Again, the court gave a positive order, but even something like getting the roads made, getting the ash deposited where, and now the Supreme Court is also saying, the companies are saying, we don't know where to deposit the ash. Now the ash from thermal power plants is highly polluting, and people just were dumping them in the forest, where you can see a whole forest being under a mound of ash, and all that ash then cuts in and goes into the fields of people. It is also very polluting because it also starts causing a lot of soil pollution, which then can also, like, it causes skin pollution. So people have skin rashes on their feet. When ash goes in, they have eyes, and it's also carcinogenic. There's also carcinogenic material in the air, in the dust pollution that we were saying, and for which they were giving that dust bhatta. So there is cadmium, there's manganese, there's arsenic, there's nickel, and all these things again target different places of the body. So when people are talking about health symptoms, and a lot of people would be talking about, say, just pains in their bodies, haath god pirat hai, matlab my legs and hands pain, my muscles are paining, my eyes are always watering. People were losing, like a lot of people were dying of TB, and 30 to 40 age group people were dying of TB. Now, TB is something that the whole Indian government is saying that, and the world is saying that they have a TB control program. TB is something that can be cured. But if you have an occurring cause constantly in your environment, you cannot cure it. So again, a lot of deaths. And in Tamil Nadu, if you see the deaths by TB is 2 times the national figures. The number of TB cases are also 4 times the national figures, because again, there is coal, there is the rubber that comes out of trucks that are going in, again in the video, and also in Odisha for a time, because Odisha and Raigad borders are the same, and from one Jindal mine, it all comes to the power plant. There were the trucks plying was stopped by people from Odisha and Raigad for at least 2.5 months. But then again, people do that, people come out on the roads, but then they are criminalized. Like Prasant Bhai was saying that so many people have criminal cases against them. It's the same here. It's the same when people, and these are the people that they have criminal cases against them, not because they have done something against the law. They are sitting there saying, please implement the law.
Exactly.
They are saying, please implement the law. This is the court order. Please implement the court order. These are the environmental guidelines. Please abide by these guidelines. And when each time they have to do a chakka jam, which is a roadblock, or they have to do a dharna, a sit-in protest, they have cases against them. So, and now this area, this same area that I'm talking about, which is about 52 villages, this same area has now 8 to 9 coal projects, which will affect all these 52 villages. Something like 18 to 19 villages will be displaced, but a lot of villages, even when they're not displaced, are very, very heavily polluted. So they are in the buffer zone or in the core zone of 3 to 4 mines going around them. And another case was fought against another large mine that was, and so what also happened that some were private mines and there are some mines that are government mines, so it can be.
Yeah, sorry, can I interrupt you 1 minute here, if you don't mind? This private and public, can you talk a little bit about the structure of these companies, in the sense like there's yes, you have private, you have public, but then you talk of subcontractors also. And so could you give a little idea of
Okay.
this structure of the company side, what we're calling a company?
Yeah, so then these are like the private, so we can call them projects, like the mining projects. Now, if you only speak of this one tehsil that I'm talking of, this is divided into 9 large mining sectors. So Gare Pelma 1 to 5 are the large sectors, which each sector will affect about 13 to 14 villages. Then the private, so one block will be given to only private companies. So it will be Jindal, it will be Hindalco, it will be Monet, and Nico Jaiswal, which was again what they were talking about in that film also. So these companies, and they will have small mines. Then there are large sectors which will go to a public sector organization. So it can go to the Maharashtra Power Generation Corporation. It can go to the Chhattisgarh Electricity and Power Generation Company, to the Gujarat and XYZ, like different states. So it feels that it is owned by a government body, but in all these, the MDO, that is the mine developer and operator, is given to a private company. So even though SECL functions, and there is one mine that SECL is getting, and we are hearing that even that mine is going to Adani, and to a large, almost all these 3 or 4 large sectors are, the MDO is going to Adani. So in fact, Adani is the largest coal producer in the country now, not Coal India, which should have been the largest. So even there was an SECL mine, which is it is called the SECL open cast mining project, and in the same area, and that also the MDO has been given to Adani. So where people feel that if an SECL or a government company comes in, you will get government jobs. But if the MDO, the mine developer and operator, is going to a private company, you are not going to get government jobs, because all the jobs will be given by then this company. So that is the structure. And then these companies also have, for technical jobs, they have larger subcontractors who come in and who but for the labor force, they have these petty contractors. And so mostly people are taken in, a petty contractor then gives into a bigger contractor, and the bigger contractor works for the company. And so a lot of times when labor are also protesting against, like, for example, when we were asking for gratuity from the company, they were saying they are not our workers. But the law says that the principal employer will still be the company if continuously they are working for the same company, even if they are under a contractor. So these are the kind of like different ways in which people are divested of their rights. And again, this is all happening under the government scrutiny, because there is a labor commissioner, there is the Ministry of Labor Affairs, there will be like from the state to everywhere. They should be the ones who should be safeguarding the rights of the workers. And then when we say that people will get work, then this is the kind of work they're getting. And constantly, every village, in every place, and this is not in Odisha, it will happen in Bastar also, if mining companies come in, where Prasant was talking about in Jharkhand, there are constantly people who are land losers, they're constantly on the road saying, we were promised this, but we were not given, we were promised this compensation, we were not given, you took 2 acres of our land, you're taking 3 acres, but you're not giving us compensation. And they'll give them compensation saying that the compensation rate will be of 2012 or 1999, when they're saying you're taking in the third round, you're taking it now, so you have to at least give us the price, the market price. So these are the, like, when actually mining starts in some places, no, these are the everyday struggles, and they're not glamorous, they don't get covered. Even when we try to, and I'm not saying it as a to any media or whatever, but these are not issues that then people after a point want to cover. Like, even when people are protesting somewhere and the things are becoming tense, you reach out to a lot of press people and say that, why don't you cover the large scale way in which people are circumventing the law. But after a point, these are not, because then these are like everyday things. Ye to hota rehta hai, ye to sab jagah, this happens everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is like, because it doesn't, how should I say it? It is not like so. So the anti-Naxal war is in some ways something that people are interested in, and so everyone is covering that. But what happens after? And once the war is lost or whatever, like, I'm not saying that the war that is like the war that everyone is betting on, but I'm saying that when large protests are happening, that time it gets covered. But when things cool down, when the real everyday life of people living in mining areas happen, that does not become that's not like, those are not stories. Polluted water, yeah, people dying, yes, because then the deaths happen slowly. It takes 10 to 12 years for the pollutants to also start showing up in health conditions. And then maybe the next generation really gets affected by things. The next generation gets affected by dwindling groundwater sources, so the crops that are getting, so then so that's how it happens. And the last thing I want to say is that, for example, right now there are people protesting in various places where again, it's a government company, but the MDO is with Adani, and they have in one round of court orders, they have actually been able to quash the EC that was given, because it was given, and the NGT very clearly said it was given on wrong grounds. But within 4 months of getting such an order, they were able to get another order from the EAC and get the EC back again. So it becomes like, so how much will people fight? Same thing what Prashanda was saying, that where people have got their forest, they have managed to get the CFR. And again, now the whole 2,000 hectares of forest have been 200 hectares of forest have been given to this company. And again, which the MDO is by Adani, and they are now coming to fell trees. And people have to go to High Court to say that, but we've not even given the NOC for forest rights, but the forest rights have been passed on. People are fighting for forest rights, where they are being told that because this company has got the lease of this area in 1998, you cannot.
Yeah, this is absolutely.
You cannot claim rights now.
Yeah.
But in 2019, there was a principal secretary who actually, in a meeting to all his collectors, said that we are interpreting the law wrongly. Even if a lease has been given to someone, we need to, the right of the person who has encroached the land right in the beginning, his title, his right remains. So if an Adivasi has been on the land, say, even if they came to the land in 1990 and the lease was given and they filed that claim later, the right still remains. So
That's
even
all
when
being.
so even when you have good officers trying to tell you something, it never gets implemented. And each time, like with fighting with administration, is like you have one good collector, you get till some place in a struggle and then it goes back. So even people who are fighting, what I'm trying to say is that people who are fighting democratically, keeping their faith in courts, in administration, where is it getting us? Like
Absolutely.
And then what hope does one see? So I think if the government is so is when they're talking about freeing the place, with talking about, and that is the fear that people there have been constantly, the Adivasis of Bastar have been, that will you demilitarize?
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
after, will you demilitarize after the Nexus go away? Will you talk about how the companies that are coming in will come in? And those are the struggles that everyone, and then connecting it back to, like, say something like Bella Dilla, because we talked of Bella Dilla. After doing so much health work, and because there were villagers from there who said, why don't you come and help us also, because there is a large scale pollution of the bauxite, जिसको वो लोग, they call it lal pani, red water. This is the residue of the bauxite when the blast happened, and it's very thin, powdery.
I am going to just, if you don't mind, because I'm looking at the time, Rinchin, and I'm just thinking how relentless this whole thing is. And when we say the relentless repression in these areas, that is exactly what you have. I mean, you cannot cover it in 15 minutes, in 20 minutes. And I think, yes, there are lots of people still with us listening. And I think it's because, yes, where do you stop? Because you had to go on, because one thing finishes, another thing comes up. One thing
I'm
finishes.
sorry if I've exceeded my time. I'll
No,
just
no,
leave it
it's
here.
not that.
But,
Yeah, because I thought maybe some people have questions also for you.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just look at that, because we've actually gone to like over 1.5 hour. No, we haven't yet. Actually, have we done 1 hour 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, we have 1 hour 15 minutes.
Sorry,
because-
my wrong calculation. My wrong calculation. So I'm going to hand back to you. But can you, there's a question actually, maybe you can take it in as you're speaking. Can you please share what are the regulations and wage under the Coal Wage Board? How is the situation of government-owned mines? So if you take it, and please do continue a bit more. We can take it in for another 10 minutes at least, and then we can bring Prashantji in and do some question answers.
See, where the area that I'm largely concerned, there are no government-owned mines. All the mines are being now, even if the owner of the mine, like the name under which the mine is a government company, like a government power generating company, but the mines are all being operated by. But the Coal Wage Board, I don't know. While the discussion is going on, I can later put out what the what the wages are, but there are these different there are the different sections, of what a skilled worker will get, what an unskilled worker will get, what a semi-skilled worker will get, what a worker working in an underground mine should get. So there are all these things, and from say 750 to 550, it may have changed. So I don't want to say it with, I may be wrong in that, but people were getting as less as 150, 250. That was the highest that they were getting per day. When actually for workers who are working for more than 5 years, it should have been double. So people will get and also that they were not getting neither the act says that they should get gratuity especially if they're in very dangerous job, which all of underground mining is, also open cast mining where you're going to blasting areas, etc. So there also there has to be, like, if you do 21 days or if you do 22 days, then you are entitled to gratuity, etc. But everyone, like, there are ways to get around it. So you can just lay off a person for 5 days and say come back after 5 days. So those are the kind of things that are happening. And even in government-owned mines, like in many of the SCCL mines, and people that when we were trying to understand, we were trying to consult. It's not a very good situation there either. But the private ones are really bad.
And they're becoming, like you're saying, increasingly privatized, because even the government, what is on in name is a government corporation, but underneath there's a layer of this kind of supply chain in which
And that's
is
for all
happening.
of North. That's for all of, so the a lot of you may have heard of the Hasdev,
Yes.
the Hasdev Aran, and that Hasdev Aranya also is like the Rajasthan. It's the Rajasthan Electricity Corporation, or there are others, but they're all being mined by Adani. The MDO is with
Can you
Adani.
explain that a little bit? What do you mean by mine development operator?
So for example, a government power generation company of any state can be allocated that mine. So they're saying that the coal that comes in will go into that to supply power to that particular state. But they are not mine operators, they are power generators. So they appoint a mine operator. And the mine operator is the one who mines and then takes out the coal and sells it. And that, to a large extent, in all these places, is Adani.
Thank you. I think what I'll do now, like, I'll ask if there are questions, please, you can put Nandita, you can help with that. In the meantime, Prasanji, would you like to respond to Rinchinji if you would like to add some comments?
Yes, I agree. No comment. Yeah, no comment. I agree with the Rinchin Ben statement. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, and anything then
I don't
you
have
would
comment.
like to add as well. But, like I said, the sense we are getting is that it is absolutely...
already, dear friends, already I have said that it's a long-term roadmap is conspiracy is going on. Name of different operation, name of the different so-called operation in the Chhattisgarh to eliminate the tribal, killing to the people, maybe in Maoists, maybe innocent people, tribal or in police. That does not matter. The violence, it's the only agenda is the corporate culture. The Nexus is doing everything. Everybody knows that. It's already exposed. And is a future is a agenda for this one to eliminate the tribal for a corporate culture. So now it's a clear agenda. So no discussion is required.
Yeah, no,
No
absolutely.
discussion is
And we
required.
hope that
Yeah.
this is, for us, is, people who are sitting out, not in these areas. We do need to engage in these conversations with and understand what is going on. So really, yeah, I will come and obviously say my thank yous in the end. But Nandita, did you say there was a question?
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, and maybe I can consolidate. First one is for Rinchin. In these Benami transfers, what have you seen has worked in the favor of people?
I think because of the 170 curve, the 170B, there is a law that says that any transfer of Adivasi land to non-Adivasi, and even the state, like the courts have said that even the state comes under a non-Adivasi entity. So that needs to be like that. The collector needs to approve of that. And again, that is being done to say that you protect like an Adivasi person's right, and you protect that to see that the transfer is legal and it is in the favor of the Adivasi person. And I think the thing that has worked, again, very little has worked, because here again the person has to go and file a petition in court, get a lawyer, most often get a lawyer, also wonder whether your lawyer will be bought over by the other side. And it is not like that. Very few times will the state take its suo motu, understand that there is something that large scale that has happened and they should start an investigation. So again, it is always, and the loneliest and the longest, and again the fights that are the people when they fight it singularly, like one person fighting it alone. But the thing that works is when people see it as a larger thing and come in together and they fight as a group. Of course, that is also not encouraged by the either by the administration. So they'll make every person file their individual case, and then then each person has to come. But even there, where there is a sangathan, where there are people like for Raigad, there is a Adivasi Dalit Kisan Sangharsh, and when they come together in 60, 70 cases from every village and 250 cases together, when they go to court and they go with that force even to the tehsil town or then those are times when it works, when there is pressure on the administration also, because people come together. So again, in these cases also, when people come together and fight it as a collective case, it works much more than people working singularly. And there also, when there is a very committed lawyer, when there is someone who works for a long time, then maybe one or two people will get justice. But when people come together, then the chances are more. And
Yeah.
for all things, we know that when
Yes, yes.
people come together, the chances are.
Yeah, definitely. Another question is, have you seen also a rise in education, philanthropy, and residential schooling by mining companies in these areas? And are mining companies sort of using this as philanthropy, hiding their extractive purposes? And
Here less. But the thing is that they are talking about the fact that they are coming in and they talk about, they bring in education, they bring in hospitals, they bring in thing. But even that they are not doing. So what is their philanthropy? The government school they will make a wall of a government school and write, this wall has been donated by XYZ company, Jaiswal Nico or Hindalco or Jindal or Adani. But even that, and we should also talk about, that's a whole different thing, but the Mineral Development Fund. And where does the Mineral Development Fund money go? Because this is what the courts had said, that they should make a fund in which they put this much amount of their profit so that it goes to the people who are most affected by mining, but very little has come. The roads, the water situation, everything is very bad. Education also, most people, even the poorest of poorer laborers, are paying to put their children in private schools for very low quality education, but feeling that it's a private school and it's an English medium school. So so very little is being done. Maybe 20 or 30 children may be sponsored by these companies in a large school, but that's also, maybe many of them will be their own employees. They have a school, many of them have open schools, but the schools are for their employees. They have hospitals for their employees. In one of our court cases, we were able to say that the court ordered that free medical services should be given. We have an order by the collector says that this hospital that is run by this company should look at patients from all. That order came, we got that order 3 years back. We still haven't been able to implement it on the ground. People go and are turned back from the hospitals. They go to the collector files takes out another order. But very poor quality of healthcare also. So
thank you.
But yeah, it will come. But I've heard, like in Odisha and etc., the philanthropy and all is very high. Here they haven't, for some reason, it hasn't started. But a lot of the money goes into philanthropy in the cities, where they say that they're looking after Adivasi children. So take 20 children, and which one of the collectors maybe 10, 15 years back had done and made it a project of 30 Adivasi children being educated by
and that
by
is
the
mainstream
administration and Jindal. But
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Prasant, would you like to add? Sorry, I just thought, I'll ask Prasant if he wants to add something to this in Odisha.
Yes. No, I don't have to anything.
No. Yeah, Nandita, there's another question.
The next
so I'll just say we are now at 1.5 hours now. Sorry, I miscalculated before. So thank you everyone, firstly, for staying with us and listening to this absolutely rich discussion. Again, I will come back to my thank yous, but if you can stay on. So how many questions do we have, Nandita?
We have 2 more questions.
Is it okay? Shall we take 2 more questions? Okay, let's take those and then we can wind up after that.
One question is on healthcare issues in these areas, and what is the kind of primary healthcare access that people have, and what is the politics behind it? And the other question is, is there any coal that is exported from this area that we can use as the idea that India can still have a high carbon emission, but it's actually if it's exporting it, then that argument falls short. So yeah, two questions. One is on whether the coal is being exported and what kind of primary healthcare access do people have, and if there's any politics around it.
Did I answer the coal question? So then, yeah, coal
Yes,
is
please.
being right now they're called captive mine, that the mine has to go, but they have also started commercial mines. So they have carved out 6 mines in this same area, which the government itself is saying is exceeding its limit. But they have given they've also opened commercial mines. So apart from the mines that are going to these power plants, and these are called captive power plants, that all the coal from this mine has to go to that power plant, there are also 7 small commercial mines. They were also auctioned in 2020, 2022, and 2024. In fact, in northern Chhattisgarh, in the Hasdewaran area, where there was a lot of protest going on, they cancelled the government to appease there. They cancelled 2 coal mines and 2 commercial coal mines there, but they gave it to Raigad. So it's like, okay, like somewhere where the protest or where there is more the more eyeballs on it, so you take it from there and you put it there. So here there are 9 commercial mines now, which means that any person who comes can take out coal and sell it to anyone, as to a national market or to international. It's not being done as yet, but I mean, it's there in the future.
Okay, and on the primary healthcare access,
The primary healthcare access is poor. There is one primary healthcare in that tehsil, and there are small sub-centers. But for everything, most people access private clinics in Raigad city. And otherwise, a large amount of healthcare is being provided by untrained professionals. People would call them quacks, but these are the only people who are actually going house to house and giving health services, largely being injections, etc., being done by them. But the primary healthcare systems are not that great.
Okay, so have we answered both questions now?
Yeah, and if Prasanji wants to
हाँ.
add anything. Prasanji, आपको कुछ और, will you add
No,
something?
no. You see, I am saying that during the we have experience for the in the time of during the POSCO moment, during the Jindal moment. People cannot go to the marketing also from outside the village, or going to the medical health center for the treatment. If somebody is going, because of so many warranties funding, police warrant is funding against the people, and somebody is absconded from the village also to fear of the arrest. So that in our experience, I said that, and also in the Kalimanagar and other moment area, the warrant is because of the warrant pending. People cannot go to the health center for treatment. People cannot go to the shopping also, the market also, daily market. That is also problem. And if somebody is coming to the market, somebody coming to the health center, police pick up to the arrest them. We have seen all that. Regarding the education, we saw that during POSCO moment, even National Child Commission has visited our area. That time they say they already they have inquiry that and many of the school is closed. Many school, and the school is captured by the police, where the police is drinking the liquor, where the police is playing carom and tas like that, and the students carry doom, because you see last 20 years the movement is going on. First POSCO, then Jindal. You can imagine many family, the trauma cases is you can see trauma cases. If you study there, many family the trauma cases there. Somebody Some family also suicide case also there. Because there is no future of the people, no future of the student also. The career was a doom. The career was doom of the people, I mean the student. So you can see that people always saying to our leaders, when the moment will be end, when the repression will be end. One project is coming after the strong opposition, I mean the strong resistance. Then these companies withdraw. Then another project is coming, another companies. So, and people are, many people are trauma, many people are, I mean, the killing by the police firing and goons firing, goons bomb attack. So, ये तमसा कितना दिन चलेगा? The people are asking to always, and our life is doomed. Many families always in a trauma, condition. Really, it's very bad condition area, and you know that many. You see, they can't treatment themselves for the big medical because fear of the police arrest, and they can't. Many family we saw the girls and many girls is not married till now because they are not ready to. I mean, the outside, the people are not married to the our girls. That is also a social problem. So many social problem is going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prashantji and Rinchin. Ji, thank you so much. I will bring it to, I think, a close now. Partly, it's just time and it's late also in India. So I'm just deeply grateful to both of you for joining us today at very short notice as well, because we are trying to run this series in what you could call real time as we see what is happening. And we felt there was an urgency to respond, and we must cover so many topics in very little time. So thank you so much for being with us today once again and sharing these deep insights, those very small, what seems like small, and like you're saying, what the newspapers don't want to cover, but that everyday repression and relentless repression of the everyday was so important to start unpicking. And I am sure that there could be plenty more that you could tell us, but we will have to bring this session to a close. I will just end and say that I'll take us back to my introduction now, because as you both have been speaking, you have also referred to Bastar in you've been referring to the deadline, you've been referring to that. So I just want to go back to what does all this mean even for Bastar, and I think what you both have told us is that these are the plans that the state has for that region too. Since 2014, again, I'm just going to repeat a little bit from my own introduction, that since 2014, under an authoritarian government that has deepened the alliance between state power and corporate interests, this violence and encroachment on land has only intensified, and we are hearing about it in regions where the counterinsurgency is not happening. There's no insurgency, as Rinchin has told us, and as Prasantji has been telling us. Mining tenders, exploration licenses, and auction notices are being issued alongside in Bastar, yes, new military deployments, but also outside that. In camps, roads, and railways are being built there, and they are not being built, as we saw from the Amdai. I want to take us back to that video also, which was, again, you had referred to in your talks, not for people, but for mines. For the state, militarization has become the prelude to extraction, and people are being treated as obstacles to be removed or pacified. And yet, despite the violence and dispossession, as we are hearing, and Rinchinji and Prasantji, you are part of that resistance. Same way, the resistance movements across Adivasi regions in Bastar continue to challenge these incursions, refusing to surrender their lands and futures to state and corporate interests. It is precisely this resistance that is provoking the latest escalation, culminating in the state's chilling ultimatum to its own people in Bastar. This is not merely a campaign against insurgency, it is a strategy to clear the path for unbridled extraction and to erase the last vestiges of indigenous autonomy. The state's vision of development is one where Adivasi communities are either co-opted as cheap labor or rendered invisible, their forests, rivers, and cultures reduced to commodities. Just as I end, I would like to say that our next session will be on 19th June. And as we have heard in this session as well, how you have been knocking at the court's doors and what happens when you go to the courts, that is exactly what we want to explore in more detail in our next session. We will look at the way the judiciary is complicit in this annihilation, which in the context of the ongoing war in Bastar functions not as a site of redress, but as a pivotal cog in the machinery of dispossession. And we will explore them in our session on 19th June through two interlinked modalities of judicial complicity, which were referred to in today also, the politics of inaction and the judicial processes as tools of subjugation. And we will expand on them more in the next session. And we will be joined in that session by Nandini Sundar, Professor of Sociology at Delhi University, and Megha Behel, lawyer and researcher who is committed to working on indigenous peoples' concerns in Jharkhand and presently a doctoral student in Rice University, USA. Thank you very much, everybody.